Blessings, everyone. This is the Live as Frequency Summit. So, if you are joining us live or if you're catching this on the replay, we just want to welcome you. But most of all, I want to welcome our guest today, Deborah Wayne. This is going to be our first connection, and I've just been looking so forward to learning more about you and experiencing your work. So, a warm welcome to you, Deborah. And I'm just going to start it out by letting you just tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we will dive right into the juicy stuff.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. It's just a delight to be here. Hello, everyone. I'm Deborah Wayne. I'm the founder of the International Chronic Pain Institute. And don't let the name scare you. I'm here helping people all over the world who are suffering from some type of pain or anxiety, depression, insomnia, binge eating, something in your life that isn't perhaps going the way you wish. And I get a real thrill, and it is my mission to show people that there is another way to deal with health, happiness, and high energy than the cut it out, drug it out way that we've all been shown for decades. And it is the result of many, many years ago when I crashed and burned and went through my own health hell. And it was revealed to me in meditation
Mm,
that there's a whole new way, not only to live, but to live with health freedom, with freeing up your spirit so you can be happier, with using your mind and your emotions in a different way than I had been raised to use them. And that was making me feel terrible about myself, but I didn't know it.
mm,
And this experience and a series of experiences in meditation just rocked me to the core and changed my life. And I became aware of the energy field and life force energy, and that I had a mission and I would be able to help first myself and then other people. And it's literally, I've never looked back. It was
mm,
over 35 years ago, and I've been able to help tens of thousands in over 160 countries finally get their energy and their health back on track. And so I'm just honored. Thank you, Jules, so much for having me here today. And I'm excited to see who shows up. There's no accidents, with who shows up on these calls. And we're going to have an experience today. Um, so thank you. I'm honored you took time out of your life to be here with us.
mm. Well, it is our honor to connect with you today. And already I feel like we should just go into a little bit about your story and so kind of what brought you to I know you just kind of tapped into it, but I feel like it's a story worth telling. And I'm really curious on what the insights through meditation that you had. So I'm sure you're going to share all of that, but let's start there.
Well, I'll take you back to the pivotal moment, really. It was almost 40 years ago. I don't even know how this is possible, where all the time went, but it was a Monday morning, a regular Monday morning where I was just supposed to get up, get dressed, and go to work like I always did. But that Monday, I found myself lying on the floor of my big, beautiful walk-in closet, and I couldn't get dressed and I could not stop crying. And I was out of willpower and out of the gusto to fake it till you make it one more day. And I was in pain from head to toe. And I was very anxious, and I wanted to end my life. And I just couldn't fake it any longer. And I didn't know what to do. I just couldn't even think of one more thing to do. So I laid down on the floor and screamed out to a God I didn't believe in. And I said, if there's anything out there, please help me. And I had a shocking spiritual experience that I wasn't expecting. And the entire closet was enveloped. I and all of the closet, I felt this huge force of unconditional love that you just can't make up. It was so palpable. And I immediately stopped crying and felt inner peace, which I didn't feel because I was living on pills to make me calm down, alcohol to make me sleep, binge eating to cover up all the fears and the emotions. My hair was falling out. I had ulcers. I had PMS so bad I had to lay down for 5 days out of every month. My thyroid didn't work. My digestion didn't work. And there I was, all of a sudden, instantly feeling deep inner peace. And I heard an inner voice say, everything's fine. You're going to be fine. And first, you have to take care of you. And then you're going to be helping people. And I thought, what? People are going to think I'm nuts if I ever share this. So I actually reached out for help that day to a professional, which was not like me. I was sort of the type of person that, I would say, oh, I've got this. Everything's fine. But that day, in a lot of fear, I reached out to someone and I started to unpack my life in a different way. And I got really rigorously honest for the first time. And I began to, instead of taking pills and drinking, a bottle of wine to try to pretend everything was fine, I sat and I started to meditate again, which I had learned when I was 15, but I stopped. I don't know why I stopped. I guess I thought, it wasn't doing anything. But I sat and I started to meditate every day, twice a day. Oh my God. And I had a series of these very spiritually transformative experiences. And it literally showed me that the walls, my body, everything that we see as the physical universe, the physical world, is not physical. It's vibrating masses of energy and particles of light, and that it's all changeable. And what I really understood were the principles of quantum physics, which, believe me, I was not interested in science. I had never studied physics. I could have cared less about any of that. But it was shown, and it took 20 years for me to even realize that it was physics. I just was shown the truth about everything. And it was life-changing. I knew it was real. Didn't take away all the fear. I didn't go public immediately with this, but I knew this was my path. And so fast forward, after working on myself, rehabilitating I reinvented my entire life, really. I mean, I let go of everything, everyone, from career, job, husband, house, clothing. It just all was done and started over. Now, I'm not suggesting you do that, but I'm just saying it was a massive leap into the void. And for me, it was perfect. And
Mm.
after that, went back to school, lots of, learning, lots of meditating, lots of experiences. And I birthed within me this understanding of how to deal with health and happiness and high vibration. And that's what became the foundation of my programs and how I work with people. And I've never looked back, never. And that's how I ended up here today.
Mm. Gosh, what a powerful story. And the part that actually hit me the hardest was just a total 180. It's that to this. And
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of way showers and light workers, that's kind of what happens. It's just we wake up to, oh, where was I choosing all of this from? And then as soon as we realize, we kind of hit a higher state of consciousness, I guess. And then, oh, I just don't want to keep choosing that. And I'm sure you see that a lot in your work. So I feel like that as much as that may not be everybody's experiences, it may be just that one thing that we have to let go of that isn't that easy to let go of. So I'd love to just go into how you support people in starting to choose their self, trying to choose their truth over the choices that they chose through, I call it programming, but I'm sure you have a word for it as well.
It is programming. That's exactly what it is. It's conditioning, usually from childhood or other experiences that we imprinted as traumatic. And it creates a disconnect from the head with the head and the heart and our soul. And so most people are programmed to some degree, family, religions, education, babysitters, whoever, boyfriends. It's like we imprint these ideas and we think we have it all figured out until one day, usually there's a wake-up call of some kind, a health issue that you just can't resolve no matter what you try, right? You try everything and nothing works. And you look around and not everybody's suffering from the same thing. or your bank account or your boyfriend, or, it just crashes and burns in some area of your life. And this is the wake-up call. And the more you resist it, the more painful the symptoms get. And when the fear of changing becomes greater than the pain,
Mm.
you stay stuck. But when the pain becomes greater than the fear of changing, you'll change. Now, I don't feel it's necessary to ride that to the basement. And that's where, if people will hear, if you hear what I'm saying, that's why I've been so passionate about this. You don't have to ride this to the gutter, to the basement, to where it's just incomprehensible demoralization. You can get off the elevator at any floor and say, this is not working for me. And so when I work with people, we have a conversation. I ask questions. I don't tell people what to do. I don't give advice. I know that the answers are inside of each one of you. And my job is to nurture and draw out your own answers from within you, your own truth from within you, which isn't really, I found, isn't that common. People loved to tell me what to do with my life. That was part of the problem to begin with. It added to all the programming. Everybody seemed to know what I should do with my life. And nobody was asking me, how do you feel? What lights you up? Where do you really want to go? What do you really want to do if there was nothing standing in your way? I start to draw out from people the truth of who they are through a simple conversation. That's one way. I like to start with a conversation and then the magic bullet. I work in their energy field and I can scan the energy field and literally feel with my hands. That's how sensitive I am. Like even on Zoom or even without a device, we can talk about or not, but I can feel the energy field and find where the disturbances are that imprinted for you that you may never find by thinking about it and talking about it, or it might take 10 years. Everything that's ever happened has been recorded in the energy field, and I can find that where it's out of tune and how. So that's, when I work with people, we talk, then I work in their energy field, then I ask them what they experienced. And many times this alone will wake people up, and they will say to me, oh my God, I just realized I have to move. I just realized that job is killing me. Or they will get an email, a phone call that day, and they get fired because they
Mm.
were so out of alignment. They did. And, these things start to clear up. They start rapidly clearing up, cleaning up. If it's physical, people might start detoxing, or they begin, it's really incredible what can happen when I clear, work in the energy field, and these awarenesses come up and people start to heal.
There was something that I was kind of going through your website a little bit that I was super intrigued by and so needed is that you also teach the tools of how to stay in those higher frequency spaces. And I feel like that's the one thing that is missing in a lot of people's practices is that they, oh, come and clear and do all this, but then the people don't have the tools of how to bring that into their life and to continue to stay in that higher frequency. So I'd like to talk about that.
So appreciate you saying this. I feel like a broken record because what I learned years ago is that, yes, almost everybody feels something and has changes, sometimes dramatic, miraculous changes from the energy healing, my biofield healing method. But will they hold it? That's the key, right? And not become dependent on me to keep clearing their field. That's not my goal or my dream. It requires, there's only three areas where the problem is, and it's usually a combination of all three. It's the mind, it's the emotions that get suppressed and repressed, and it's the energy field that is carrying these imprints. And I teach people, if they allow me to, if they're willing and teachable, I teach them how to find and release these damaging beliefs and habits of thought that are contributing to the very problem they're trying to put out. Now, a lot of people are familiar finally now with belief clearing types of tools, and that can be the problem. They stop there because the gas that really makes the car run, it's emotions. And if you don't learn how to find where you're putting emotional energy, if it's not getting released properly, it goes internal, it implodes, and it comes out sideways as a symptom, a physical symptom, a bank account symptom, a boyfriend symptom, whatever, but it shows up as a symptom in your physical life. And most people I find either are unaware, that was my story, unaware of my emotions. I got really good at shoving them down and pretending they weren't there. You're not, we live in a society that um, it gives you rewards for going into your head and for not feeling your feelings. So people are rewarded for just looking cool, saying, I've got this, and not falling apart visibly, but internally they are. So I help people rapidly release these emotions and not be afraid of them and not be afraid to feel and to know what to do when they come up and to understand the link between the mind and the emotions and how thoughts are generating emotions and emotions are generating more thoughts. And you end up stuck on this merry-go-round you don't know how to get out of and off of. And those are specific techniques that you can learn and practice first with me. And then when you're confident, you ride the bike without the training wheels and you're free. You're just set free. So I wish everyone was open to this because truthfully, it's really what's needed for us to become masters of our life. We cannot pretend that we are just going to go to some healer all the time and get fixed all the time. Not that there's anything wrong with that. And people come back to me all the time for tune-ups and, there's nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing wrong with getting somebody else's eyes and ears and intuition on you. But don't you want to be strong and in your power? I mean, I know I do. And so I want to empower others to do the same.
Amen to that. I mean, really, I do feel that that is where we're going. I almost feel like that, first it was, at least here in America, it's, oh, go get the pill, right? And then maybe go get the pill and talk to somebody. And then it kind of shifted to, okay, well, now I'm going to go and have someone raise my frequency, clear my energy field. And so you can see all the quantum devices and, oh, I'm going to wear this pendant and it's all raise your frequency, raise your frequency. But then it's just as much of a roller coaster because it almost becomes the next drug and I'm sure all of you know what that experience is like. It's almost just as painful when we enter these higher frequency and maybe even more painful because when we're in that high frequency, we are so aware that that's our innate being and that this is the way it's always supposed to be. And then when we can't hold it, maybe if we don't have the tools to kind of process through it, it can be shame and what's wrong with me and all of those different things. So I love that you're teaching the tools and yes, the belief systems, but I think it's also what is triggering, I call them viruses, what belief systems are running and how is that affecting the body. And what I find really fascinating is the emotion part because for me, it's okay, it's time to move out of the emotional body and into the quantum body or the frequency body and to start seeing emotion as frequency and just receiving it as information versus having to go through this chemical response to get the information. So I would love to, I love that you're like, yes. So I want to go there because emotion is information and I'm just gonna you know where I'm going with this, so I'm just gonna let you
Totally,
take over.
totally, totally love this so much. This is my favorite conversation in the world. So emotions are measurably emitting frequencies that can either harm you or help you. Simple as that. There was a really amazing woman named Dr. Valerie Hunt. She was a PhD at UCLA. She passed away quite some time ago. And she figured out how to photograph the energy field um, before anyone really understood what was going on. And she had a research lab there. And she saw in every single case, she worked with medical cases. In every single case, she saw how emotions were measurably communicating to the cells, to the body, and either harming or helping, and that people like to hang out in certain vibrational ranges of frequency ranges. And they like to stay there and they will not go into these other states of emotion. And this is what's so fascinating to me. She said this is what's harming them. Even if they're in just a really blissful or happy or positive state. You see, the definition of health, she said, is being able to feel and experience all of the emotions, but not get stuck in any of them, but not be afraid of any of them. And when I found her work, I felt so validated, because this is what I was seeing, is that over and over, and I saw it in my own life first and then in other people, it's interesting how certain diseases and symptoms, I was meeting the same person, the same personality in a different body. There were personality types that would go along with symptoms and disease labels because they are connected to certain emotions. And this same personality would show up. And I'm like, oh my God, I've seen this before. I've heard this before. We're terrified of emotions in our culture. We don't want them. And the most powerful ones is we don't like feeling unsafe. We don't like feeling out of control. We don't like feeling vulnerable.
Mm.
So people will go to any lengths to avoid that, repress that, and suppress that. And so if you look back at all the trauma that practically everyone that I've talked to has experienced at some point, most people go into hiding it so well that you may not even realize how you're contributing to the problem, to the fire you're trying to put out. You're adding logs to a fire you're trying to put out and don't even know it. So we have to address the emotional piece and get over our fear of it. And I love what you said. Emotions, it's just energy, it's just information. The body is giving us feedback. The body's just a feedback machine. It gives us sensations. And then we tell a story and we make up a story about the sensations. And most of the time, what people make up is a scary story that freaks them out, that makes the symptoms worse.
Mm.
If you hear nothing else that I say, that's really the key, is that your body's giving you feedback. We need and want the feedback because your body is a GPS trying to guide you, show you when you're in alignment with what's right for you or out of alignment. You step off, something doesn't feel right. You don't want to take a pill, a drink, a Twinkie to suppress that. You want to know what it's trying to tell you. Instead, we make up a story about it. Oh my God, my mother had this, my genes, this or that. Oh, it's what I ate. Oh, this. And we scare ourselves sick instead of learning from what it's trying to teach us. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I feel like that's probably the direction to go to next because we haven't really been taught to listen to anything but the programming of our mind. And so when we start to get this information, I feel like that's the one place that people start to loop because they go into the filing cabinet and try to, okay, well, this fits this. And then all of a sudden they're leaping in another story, but there's information outside of that. So let's go into that.
Absolutely, yes. There's a state of consciousness higher than the mind. That's what we want to remember, folks, is that we've advanced as a society to look at neuroscience and all these interesting things about the mind. That's awesome. But don't stop there, because that's also a limitation. And most of what's in the mind, quite frankly, is just somebody else's thoughts and beliefs that they fed you and you accepted it, or the majority of the people on the planet accepted it as true. And so when a large group of people accept something as true, we just assume it's true. But let me give you this example. The Wright brothers, who invented the airplane, on the day that they flew their first plane, no one showed up on the field to witness it because no one believed it was possible. Okay. That's the power of beliefs. Once you start examining your ideas, you'll find out 99.9% of them are not even true. But every thought causes you to have an emotional reaction. And then every decision you make is based on emotions. Every decision, what you eat, who you marry, where you live, it's based on emotion. And then you try to back it up with logic that somebody else gave you. This is not a way to live in harmony with your soul.
Mm.
So the battle is between the personality that's been programmed and the soul. Your soul always knows what's best for you. But the fear of breaking the code, the family code, is so strong that you have to have support. Most people do, unless you already have a really strong, clear connection to your higher guidance. And if you did, this would not be an issue. So,
Mm.
so we need support at first in order to recognize I'm not going crazy. I'm feeling something, sensing something. I'm open to higher information. And the quickest way to get there is to really understand I know nothing.
Mm.
If you can accept I know nothing and sit and ask and wait for the invitation, ooh, you're going to open up a whole new universe. But we're afraid of the quiet. Most people are afraid of the quiet. They're afraid nothing will show up. There's no net to catch them. There's no guidance. There's nothing. And that is just not true.
Mhm.
That is just not true. So we want to embrace a new way of being. And that does require being quiet and listening with our whole being. But again, your amazing body, we're here in physical form, so the body can become the friend that guides us because it always knows. You will always know what's right for you if you listen.
I call it the divine operating system. It's always operating in a frequency of beyond what our mind can understand. And it's funny that you bring up the trust and the quiet, and because that's where we're all heading, I feel, as we start to unravel these attachments to what I call form or programming. And that is the reoccurring theme. And it seems like it's come up on a couple of interviews I pre-recorded, as well as the interview I had earlier today, is trust and what it takes to be in that space of trust. And you hear it all the time. And it's funny because I really was playing in this a couple of years ago, and it came down to this place of that I feel like is also just a collective program of almost like, what if I get duped? It's like, what if I trust in something and then I get duped? And like that word is the
Oh,
only word that fits it, right? So I want to talk a little bit about that and just what your experience is with that.
I run into this myself and with most people. There's an underlying core belief that the universe is not for me.
Mhm.
And especially if you grew up or had experiences in your life where the people who were supposed to love you, care for you, nurture you, they betrayed you. If you experience any kind of betrayal or you betrayed yourself, which, right? So you knew something wasn't right for you and you went and did it anyway. I mean, who hasn't done that? That's sometimes how you learn there is a path. It's not a mistake. You have to step off sometimes to go, oh my God, I knew I shouldn't have done that. Well, how did you know? Because you have a GPS. So this underlying belief that life is for me, not against me, has to be baby step reprogrammed because it's there, but the pilot light got very dim for most people because of our human experience. And so we take the qualities of mom and dad and project that onto God, the universe, and all that is. And that's the problem right there, that we take human characteristics because humans are not, when they're acting from a programmed place, a conditioned space, they're going to let us down. but there is a source that is not human. There is an invisible realm that we can connect to and we can literally rely on. And I want to bring up another point because some people have this awareness of an abstract, energetic, universal consciousness, for example, but they don't often believe it, it works in a personal way. They think it's just impersonal.
Mm.
What I would like to share with you is that it's both. It's a force as real as electricity and as impersonal as electricity, but it also cares about you and you and you and you and you in a personal way and will respond to you in a personal way. And once you grasp this, woo, then you have something you really can rely on, and we need to rely on. You know, if you're just free floating in the universe by yourself, I mean, God, that is terrifying. But once you know you're connected to the much greater force, and this is a love force, it is not a punishing force, and it will not betray you and let you down. You can rely on it, then everything changes. But that's not to say you know, as you grow and expand, at least in my experience, new experiences show up that challenge me and push me to expand my comfort zone and my faith in this power and my connection and my oneness with this power. So when, you know, fear may come up again, it's not like it may never show up again. And when it does, though, you have the tools and you know what to do with it.
So beautifully said. I can I'm sure if people are listening that they've heard me say this a million times, but it's just such a powerful moment that I can remember the day that it was scarier to say no to the intuitive guidance than to push it aside and pretend like it wasn't there, because I had lived that life long enough and I knew what road that would bring me down. And so no matter how scary the guidance was, there's just no way I'm not going. And
Breathe.
that's I'm
Yeah.
I think that you're getting that as well. Where would you like to go, Deborah? Do you I would love for you to do a process, or how do you want to share your work with us?
Absolutely. I'd love to do a short demo where I work in the energy field. See, as a group here, we form a collective consciousness. There's one field that I can work on, but you'll get individual results. Isn't that mind blowing? And in it, if you're here live or listening to the recording, and I would love to do a demonstration session.
Let's do it.
Okay. So I do want to say no driving and no operating equipment or machinery or chopping vegetables in the kitchen. If you're watching this and you are driving, I would ask that you put it on pause because most people, even people who've never meditated, drop into a very deep meditative state. And you want to be in a safe space where you're sitting or lying down. So find that spot right now, if you would, and get as comfortable as you can. Just lie back or sit back, lean back, close your beautiful eyes, and take the deepest breath you've taken all day so far. And fill up with all the new possibilities that are right here for you right now. And then open your mouth and let out a big sigh out of your mouth, letting go of the old stale air and the old stale ideas and energy. Relax your low belly. And again, breathe into your low belly first and draw the breath up into your beautiful heart. And then open your mouth and hear the sound of your own signature sound as you exhale out of your mouth with a big sigh. And one more time, breathe into the low belly first and draw the breath up, 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 and fill up. And when you think you're full, sip in a little bit more and hold your breath for a moment. And now open your mouth and exaggerate your exhale with a big sigh. Now, as you return to normal nose breathing, easy, effortless breathing, I want you to remember to let me do all the work here. I want you to let this be really easy. Do not try to help me in any way. Do not use any techniques that you know. Do not try to clear your mind. I want you to notice and allow whatever starts coming up into your mind and body. I want you to let it come up and let it be there and let me do the work. Even if it's uncomfortable, even if pain comes up, physical pain, even if emotions come up, emotional pain may come up, let it come up. What I'm doing here right now is designed to stir up, go deep down and pull up and move out the old stuck energy, which shows up as thoughts, emotions, physical sensations, even physical pain. I want you to remember to let your body move. If it starts moving, maybe it's already started moving involuntarily. Let that happen if it does. It may or may not happen. Or you may have the urge to move in some way, and I want you to follow every single urge and let your body be free to move in any way it wants to move. Some people literally flip and flop like a fish the entire time. Other people don't move an eyelash. Please understand, there's no right or wrong. You are not going to do this wrong, I promise you. You cannot and you will not do it wrong. And you cannot block the healing frequencies that I bring in for you. So let your mind relax about all of this and just feel and notice what's happening in your body and around your body and in your mind. And let your body move. If you're feeling pressure in the head, I want you to understand this is very common. You're feeling the frequencies. You're feeling the contrast of your normal vibration and the frequencies that you actually need that's already changing your vibration. So do your best to just soften and relax. Let your body melt down into the chair or the cushions beneath you and allow what's coming up to come up. If you feel physical pain come up, please, no need for concern. It's releasing. It's moving, and you will not get more than you can handle. And you are completely safe. All of you, every one of you, you're completely safe and you're in charge. I have no power over you. You could stop at any time if you wanted to. You are safe. If you're having thoughts and emotions that you don't like, you don't have to like them, but do your best to allow them to be present and just witness them like you're at the movies and you're watching a movie you don't really like and you're having thoughts about it and feelings about it. Maybe your body's even having a reaction, but you're not trying to change the movie or stop the movie or control the movie. There's nothing for you to fix or figure out with your mind. If you're yawning, you're releasing. Just let it happen. You might feel yourself starting to really drop into a deeper, more relaxed place. Just let that happen if it does. If your head's going a million miles a minute with lots of thoughts, that's okay too. Let that happen. That's what you need. That's part of the clearing. And it's happening. Now, if your eyes are closed and you're noticing you're seeing something like colors, lights, images, geometry, I'll talk about that later. Just know you're sensing the frequencies, the healing frequencies. If you're hearing sounds, voices, words, music, tones, and it makes no sense to you, that's completely okay. I'll talk about that later as well. Just listen, look, observe, and allow. You might notice a fragrance or a taste or many, many other different sensations. Just experience it. You're safe. And we'll talk about this in a little while. If it seems like nothing's happening inside of you, that's okay too. Just notice you're thinking that. You might not notice anything right away in the first experience if you're new to this. But that doesn't mean nothing is happening. I can feel it happening. So I know it's happening for you. But you may not notice the subtle or the not so subtle things that are showing up. And that's okay. Just be where you're at. You're going to get exactly what you need today and what you're ready for today. If it gets really quiet inside you, really peaceful, that's what's perfect for you today. Just enjoy it. Be with it. Now, I'm going to spend just about 2 minutes in total silence now. I'm right here and I'm continuing to work in your field. And I want you to just experience total silence and keep observing and allowing whatever is showing up for you, allow it to be there without judging it, without trying to stop it or control it or figure it out with your mind. And I want you to remember to let your body move if it's wanting to move or moving involuntarily. And you'll hear my voice again in 2 minutes, and then we'll talk further about the experience. Here we go. Enjoy the quiet. Now, very, very slowly now, become aware of the sound of my voice and all the sounds around you. And slowly begin to deepen your breathing and feel yourself becoming more alert, more awake, more aware, and staying very, very relaxed. Take a deep, long breath in and out now. Again, take another deep, long breath in and out now. And feel yourself alert, awake, aware. And I want you to come all the way back now, wide awake, alert, and slowly, slowly opening your beautiful eyes and letting the light come back in. Now, some of you may still feel spacey or tired or like, I don't want to come back, Deborah. Do I have to come back? Once I get this going, as I already have, the session will go on longer for many of you. So when we're done with the call, just lie down again and it will continue to bake the cake if you feel it's not over. Now, some of you are going to feel like you just drank 10 cups of coffee and you're ready to go. And if that's the case, go, but don't overdo it, because a lot is still actually processing. And we've seen in a scientific research lab that more often happens after the session than during. Measurable benefits after more than during. So there's a 1 to 3 day window for a lot of people where much more will happen for you. So listen to your body. Make sure you stay hydrated. Listen to your body. If you're tired, rest, even if it's more than normal. If you felt that pressure in your head, do not be alarmed. It may come back. Or if you didn't have it at all, you may tonight all of a sudden go, why do I have a headache? Because another wave, another round of the frequencies is coming in for a healing session for you. If you feel that pressure in the head or even nausea, some people, not a lot, but some people will feel nauseous. Lie down, just let this wash over you and allow the session to continue. It will probably, if it's going to happen, it will usually happen within 24 hours.
Say, oh my gosh. Okay, right now I want to just go to gallery and open it up to questions and let people share their experiences. I
Good.
find it's just so helpful. Okay, so anybody that would like to share, it could be your experience, it can be a question for Deborah. Just go ahead and raise your hand. I'm not going to be able to see everyone because we do have 2 pages. So if I'm not calling on you, you can raise your hand through Zoom as
I would
well.
love to know who like saw colors, lights, sounds, voices, words, music. If you had any interesting multi-dimensional experiences, or if you have any, concerns, like did you feel pain or an old injury or something like anxiety come up, please let me help you while I'm here. Sherry said I fell asleep. Some people fall asleep, which um, is actually, if you need to fall asleep, you will. And what that does is it takes that lovely conscious mind and gets it the hell out of the way so that you're still going to have the benefits. You just won't necessarily recognize what was going on during the session, because it does take a certain mental state to observe and not get in the way. So it's fine if you fell asleep. That's beneficial for a lot of people. And then if you were to work with me further, this probably wouldn't happen continuously. You're very welcome. All the thank yous in the chat. You're very welcome. Who else? Are there any hands up? Oh, Barbara.
Barbara.
There we
Yeah,
go.
Barbara.
Will you unmute Barbara? Can they unmute themselves?
Yeah, they can. Here I can ask and see if something pops up for her.
Oh, okay, I think I'm unmuted.
Yes, hi.
Okay, forgive that I don't have a picture. I've been loving coming to your sessions for some time now. I don't remember which summit. And I think the first time I was, I didn't necessarily feel anything right away. It was very mellow, but I realized that I was different the days after and felt like I needed to pace myself.
Mm,
So kept wanting more.
yeah.
And I'm at this, but not knowing how much more. And at this point, I feel like what's being triggered off is something from not this lifetime,
Mm.
and which I've been told in the past that I have. That I realized that is there any way thinking, should I just sort of allow myself to ride with it, or is there any way of identifying it closer than what's come up for me? Because
That's a great question.
right
I think
now,
a lot of people have that question. Thank you for asking that.
sure.
If you need to know something intellectually about the issue, you will know it. Where people get stuck and don't realize they're actually contributing to the problem is they have this need to know. The need
No,
to
yeah,
know.
I don't have the head stuff. It's sort of a feeling in my heart that I was told at some point in my life, I watched everybody around me die and I chose to die. And I feel like this time I'm choosing to live. Um, and
Great.
all I can keep saying is I choose to live this time. And I realize I want that to be enough, but I don't know if it is. So, funny kind of thing.
But listen to your language. See, your mind is getting in there, trying to
my mind. Okay.
figure this out,
Okay.
to try to discover, am I doing it right? Because I'm
Okay.
attached to an outcome and I want
Thank
to,
you.
okay? And so all I'm saying is, it's already happened.
Yeah.
Don't keep the past alive. You became
Okay.
aware. You're feeling in your heart the love. You're feeling, I'm alive. Look around you. You're alive, living this life. That leave the past in the past. Do not worry about, am I getting it right? This is the trick of the mind, my friend.
Thank you. Yeah, I didn't realize that my mind was getting stuck, which is I think because I tried. So, thank you. Yeah, just
Yes. And this is why
allowing.
it's so helpful to speak out loud, because we do not hear ourselves. We have blind spots. And when you get the help from somebody else, they can spot what you're doing that you don't even know you're doing, this. You're driving yourself a little nutty over, and it keeps you in that fear frequency. And so,
Okay.
not necessary. Just enjoy today. Today is all we have. The past is over. Let it be over. And just look around at all the beauty you have right now and look at where you are on Jules' call. This is one of the
Thank
highest
you.
vibrational interviews I've ever had. And for you to be here, just thank your guidance and thank yourself for
Yes.
hearing the
Well,
call and answering it.
yeah, and I thank everybody who's here because I know that the energy is all positive. That's what I've been feeling. It's as you say, yourself gets in the way. So thank you.
Exactly. All this thinking. I'm telling you, really, if we really understood all this and accepted it, we really wouldn't be thinking very much about anything.
Well, that's my goal.
There's
That's what I
nothing to
try to
think
tell my
about.
friends. They say, "What do you think?" I say, "I'm not trying not to think, but
There
we
you
do
go. There's
because
just
we're
nothing to
human."
think about. I'm breathing. I'm breathing. That's all that really matters. And I'm
Okay.
noticing the beauty.
Yeah.
And,
Thank
and
you.
and who can I help today? You want to think about something, think, how can I be of service here today to help
Yeah.
somebody else and pull them up out of the quicksand that they're stuck in? That's really it. It's very simple. Thank you, Barbara, so much. Who
Oh,
else?
thank you, Deborah.
I felt a lot happening here. So who else would either share or have a concern? And let me say, if you have a question or a comment, I promise you someone else has the question or comment, and you may be the only voice that's willing to speak up. So I know it can feel a little intimidating on Zoom, but it doesn't need to be. Believe me, the people on this call, like, they're going to love you. They're going to appreciate you. So just
We have
don't
Diane here with her hands up. Go ahead, Diana.
hesitate.
I love what you said when you said, because I went through this real guilt of leaving the family patterns behind. But in September, I started walking bent over and I don't get it. And I know when you were doing it, I was working on a pain I have in the right shoulder blade.
Yes. Oh, so the right shoulder blade, did you ever have a male that you felt responsible for that caused a lot of pain in your life?
Yes. Yeah.
That's what the right shoulder blade pain is about.
Yeah.
And do you still feel any angst about that or sense of responsibility?
Oh, I was made to be responsible for my siblings at an early age.
Yeah. Do you still feel responsible?
I don't have any contact with them anymore.
Do you have any
Families, but
self blame or anything? Have you blamed yourself for not doing it good enough or anything like that you maybe holding on to?
yeah, I would say yes to that. Being the oldest one, not.
Yeah.
Some really icky stuff happened, but I just don't want to go into that story, right?
Yeah. But see, what I've noticed, especially with people who are very spiritually awake and aware, is that they will often bypass their true emotions and they actually still have fear or anger or frustration over something or someone from the past. And they say, oh no, I don't want to go into the story because I'll feed energy. And I get that. But you have to acknowledge how you really feel and let the feelings come up and release them and learn how to do that or you'll bypass it, and that's what shows up as chronic pain. And I have worked on 100,000 people with chronic pain. I've seen this over and over and over again. Oh, Deborah, I'm so spiritual. I've worked on myself for 20 years, but why does every joint in my body hurt? Because there's pain you're holding on to. See, so there is no shame in just owning how we feel, or saying, I feel scared, or I'm mad at myself, or I'm mad at them. Like we need to release, own it, and then let it go. But you can't let go of something you haven't owned. If you don't pick it up, you can't drop it. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense. I worked with a woman, we were doing a dance thing and we were holding space for each other. And we were to do anger. And a lot of us can't even access the anger.
That's right.
And you know something? I held space for her. And ever she was able to go into the rage, she is so creative now. I obviously didn't go there, but she did. And I see this. She encumbered and she's like in her power, but her creativity has just gone wild.
Exactly. That's exactly what happens. And again, I've seen it thousands and thousands of times when I work with someone who's really spiritually awake, and I say, what do you do when especially if I sense anger or something in their field, and I'll say, what do you do with anger when you feel angry? They all give me the same answer. Oh, I don't feel anger. I don't ever feel anger. I usually don't have any anger. And I had one case that I'll never forget because she was the most lovely. She lived in an ashram for work. She worked in an animal shelter, rescuing animals. She was the soft-spoken, beautiful, sweet soul. And she had numbness from head to toe, physical numbness that they could not find anything wrong with her on a medical test. They had no clue how to help her, did not know what to do. And a lot of people could come with neuropathy and this numbness. And when I worked in her field, what came up for her was immense unreleased rage. She had no clue that there was rage because she got so good early in life. The trauma was so great. She just suppressed it. And she worked on herself in the best way that she knew how, which was, working spiritually and developing a very beautiful spiritual life. But the rage never got released. And there's a cellular memory, and the body will hold on to stuff like this. And we have to get it out. And within less than a month, she was completely back to feeling everything in her body. No pills, no potions. It's what you're talking about. And it opens up space for the creativity and the joy and the yoga, the dancing, all the things people want to do and experience that they lose touch with.
Mm-hmm. Right, because I saw a chiropractor. He's not ever done a chiropractic treatment on me. He checked my back and he said, well, you're using your back instead of your legs, but as far as you have the muscles there. It was like he took me to the gym all the time and I couldn't figure it out. Like, what's wrong with me? But yeah, I'm not releasing the rage. I'm not supposed to, like
remember, everything physical is really a combination of the mental and emotional and energetic state. It's the body's the outer expression of the invisible state of consciousness. There's a precursor to everything that shows up in the physical. It doesn't just happen, but and that's why we get lost in the rabbit hole of focusing on the physical symptoms, trying to fix them, but we're missing the most important ingredients. So it's like baking a cake. You forget to put in the flour, and then you wonder why the cake doesn't bake. So we want to address the invisible, which are the thoughts, the emotions, and the energy field. Otherwise, you end up, and I know I did it for years, going back to the chiropractor every week for an adjustment, and none of it ever holds. Yeah.
Thank you, Diana.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Let's go with Marilyn next. Unmute here.
Okay, I unmuted.
Marilyn?
Okay, all morning, my feet have been hurting so much I couldn't stand up. So after I did the meditation or the process, I feel they're starting to loosen up now.
Great, 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 great. That's exciting.
Mhm.
Yeah, you'll feel things you never felt before. And I've had many, many people, even after who had feet issues or ankle and feet issues, when they get up to go walk, I don't know if you've stood up yet, they feel so different that they actually have to reestablish walking normally again because so many things changed. I've seen people's spines completely straighten out. I'll never forget, years ago, I had a 92-year-old who came into my office with a walker. She had to raise the height of her walker 2 inches because her spine straightened so much in that very first session. So listen to your body, and I'm excited for you because that means real change has already happened physically.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And Jane, you look familiar to me.
It may be because I saw you last night.
Oh, that could be. There were a lot of people, but I might have, you really do. You look familiar. I feel like I've seen her before.
And you have, thank you. Well, yeah, what a real joy to be able to talk to you. I've not had an opportunity to do this, so I'm thrilled. I have gone to a lot of your sessions, and it's often the next day that something switches for me. And something really changed with my relationship with my mother.
Oh,
And this was a couple of calls ago, and it was the next day, and the experience was what if, what if what I was thinking was just not right, and it just shifted.
yes. Love it.
Today, because I was with you last night, I had an experience of I don't know how else to explain this. What if I am the breath?
Yeah, baby. What if you are?
Well, yeah, and you were talking about connecting to energy, and
Yeah.
I'm not trying to put anything together with it. I've got lots of physical issues, and right now I'm in a rash of migraines, bad migraines, and I'm not bedridden, but I'm not far from it. So I just want to come to you and say, I've touched with my rage. I know it's there. I feel like I've released some of it. I am in connection with it. And what I'm really feeling in myself right now is the fear
Mhm. The fear of what? What's the worst you're imagining?
that I'm not okay.
And yet you just got a multidimensional download that what if you are the breath? Did I hear you correctly?
Yes, yes.
So
And it's
what
I
your
was
inner guidance, not Deborah, what your inner guidance is trying to tell you is that you're very identified with your physical body. What Deborah's telling you is to remember you have a body, but you are not your body. It's like saying, I am my car. I have a car, it drives me around. I'm not my car. You're very focused, and I see it with the angst on your face when you talk about your pain. You're very focused on the physical symptoms in the physical body. I'm not saying pretend that you don't have these symptoms, but I'm saying your guidance is trying to point out it's time for you to develop a relationship with who you really are, which is what if I'm the breath? And spend some time thinking about that, at least as much time as you spend thinking about your pain and symptoms. I'd like you to spend that amount or more thinking about, well, who am I that's even noticing these symptoms? And what if I'm the breath? Do you get what I'm saying here?
I think so. Um,
You don't fully, but you will.
yes.
And so if you spend time practicing, contemplating the divine and not just your body and the problem, you will stop adding logs to the fire that you're trying to put out.
Yeah, I hear you. And I have an understanding for me, how to follow that.
Great, great. And if I can help you further, reach out. but you are clearly connected to inner guidance that you got that you probably weren't expecting and that you're like curious about. Stay curious, keep asking, keep listening, because that is not something I would have ever said to you. That came from your higher guidance. And it's important for you to write it down and just stare at it and contemplate it and ask for further clarification about the message and spend some time in that frame of thought.
And it so clearly was not a thought. It wasn't an idea I had.
Oh, that's
It-
called direct knowing. And direct knowing is very different than book learning. And I know something. No, you don't. You didn't know that. You would never have pulled that thought out of the ethers, right? Neither would I. So, like, that's a golden nugget, is what I call them. And write it down, and spend quiet time listening, even if nothing shows up, because more may show up when you least expect it, but you have to prepare the soil for it to show up. And when you're all focused on your symptoms and worrying and the storytelling and the worst that can happen, like you're not creating the space for the golden nuggets. I helped you. See, this puts people in a quieter state to more rapidly create space for the golden nuggets, which is why, I'm here to serve and help people, because they have a hard time getting out of their mind enough to go into the space where there's room for something else to come in, because that closet gets so full with our thoughts, right? Our worries. Are figuring it out, thinking that's going to help me feel more comfortable. It never makes us feel more comfortable. It just clogs up all the space for the higher to talk to us. That makes
Thank you
sense?
very much. It makes a lot of sense.
Very
Yeah.
well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here. And again, even more from yesterday.
I think we have one more Brenda here, and then we'll make this the last one here.
Hello, thank you for giving me a chance. Hi, Deborah.
Brenda?
I have an issue with binge eating, and typically, and that's why I became interested with you, because I know that you've dealt with that. And typically, I have done like harm reduction stuff, so that if I'm eating, at least I'm eating something good for me, no sugar, no flour,
Great.
etc.
That's a good first
But
step.
last night, I ate something that had a lot of sugar in it, and I'm feeling it this morning. I did a meditation this morning, and I was able to deal with my guilt. Through your process, I felt uncomfortable, like hot, and I felt full. But I didn't feel anything else, and I think that's unusual for me. So I guess my question is, I really do have to deal with this binge eating because it's affecting my health. Like, I have digestive issues, and I'm sure you know. Like,
I do.
Yeah.
I empathize. It really was just one of my biggest issues. I mean, and I went through the binge eating healthy food stage too. You feel just as sick, So what if it's organic, whatever. It's covering over typically emotions that you don't want to feel and that scare you. And here's the thing, there's no shame in needing someone's help and support, because if you could fix this on your own, you would have done it already.
Yeah.
So for a little while, you need to be able to talk freely to someone you trust. It's me, if not me, somebody you trust. And you need to be able to, really get out what's eating at you. See, it's not what you eat, it's what's eating you. That's the problem. And there are things I had from my past that were unresolved. It was more than one thing, and it was more than one person. I had built up a bucket load, a closet full of things I never talked about, felt, shared, and we're only as sick as the secrets we keep. You've probably heard that before. But I kept trying to eat it away, drink it away, smoke it away, sleep it away, shop it away, sex it away. It just doesn't work. And I ran out all the strings. And I can tell you, if you knew how quickly this could resolve by having someone you trust hold your hand for a little bit and help you rapidly release the emotions and clear out whatever is unresolved, you would jump at the chance, because it's just torture to go through that all the time. I know the torture.
And it's really devastating for the relationship with myself, because I can't really trust myself, right?
That's the worst of all, right? You start
Yeah.
to, it leads to self-loathing is what I found. And then you're full and you're sick and you're toxic from your body trying, and then you loathe yourself. That's the worst thing of all.
Mhm.
I know, I feel for you. Well,
I-
I'm here to help you. And this stuff moves it out faster and than anything I'm aware of, or I would still be doing many of the other techniques that I studied. I don't do any of it anymore because this helps so rapidly. I had one client a few years back, I'll never forget her either, because she was a massive binge eater and she was really literally dying and could not stop. And I didn't even work with her privately. She came into my group program, and I got an email one morning and she said, "Oh my God, Debora, it happened so organically and easily and naturally. I didn't even notice till this morning that I haven't binged in 2 weeks. And I didn't even notice." And this is the mind-blowing thing about this type of work, is that it happens so naturally that people don't think anything happened, because they didn't get a big Hollywood moment, I call it. They little by little, they woke up and they said, I noticed, just like we heard today, something changed with my mother. Or I woke up and I just forgot to eat the Oreos. Or I just woke up and I told the abuser, we're done. Like, it happens, and they feel like themselves. And then they don't notice, because what it is they're in their real self. And the real self is showing up, and the old program conditioned self went bye-bye, and they feel natural. They don't feel like different from themselves. Does that make sense? You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. I do.
But there's a but in you.
Yeah. No, I'm just going back to the talking to somebody, because and it's funny, I met with my son this morning and we had this kind of same conversation. Um, most of my adult life, I have looked for therapists.
Yeah.
And I finally got into a trauma program. I have PTSD, and it was extremely helpful. And I learned that I was neglected as a child, amongst other things. And a lot of things made sense. And I realized that I was neglecting myself, right? And that I needed to take care of myself, and doing energy work and intuition type stuff. But then I'm back to this issue.
Because something deeper did not get addressed. It's back to what Jules asked me earlier, and what we've both obviously noticed, is that there are a lot of people who do energy work and who understand with their mind what happened to them that caused the symptoms like binge eating to show up. But there are two other factors. They have not released the emotions, maybe three factors. They have not released the emotions. There's a cellular memory in the body that needs to get released. And intellect doesn't typically release that. The understanding of what happened to me may not release the cellular memory in the body. For example, people have surgery all the time and they come out with things they didn't have when they went in, and they can't find what's wrong on a medical test. Well, I've worked with severe cases of this paralysis after surgery, and they can't help the person, but I've been able to help them. Why? Because what happens is they had emotions and thoughts under anesthesia. Now, when you go through trauma, it's almost like we go into an anesthesia type of a state, because that's how we get through it. And then we don't even remember what happened when we come out, but the body's holding on to it. So I can work in the field and help them. But then I want to teach you how to discover what you're doing with emotions when you have them in real time, because they're going somewhere in your body. And you want to develop a relationship with your body that's so powerful that you know what you're doing and you can access that information and not store it up again. Does that make sense? That you've missed a piece here, because therapy talks about it, and now you understand, and I'm sure it was helpful, and I'm glad you did that. But I sense I actually sense fear in you. Do you feel a sensation in your chest?
Oh, I'm anxious all the time.
Exactly. And so that's emotions
Yeah.
that you just don't know how to release. I can show you how to release them and find that and not live with that. That's all I'm saying. The therapy didn't get to that piece. And I
Right.
feel that in your chest. You don't need to live like that.
It's hard to live like that.
It's horrible. That's why I took non-addicting Valiums till it killed me, almost killed me.
And I realize just how unconscious I become when I'm in the ugly state, right?
Exactly. And that's why you eat, because it numbs you out and you go into a sugar coma or whatever it is, and you don't have to feel it or know about it. You just pretend it's gone. It ain't gone. And you know that it's not gone.
Absolutely.
There's a deeper place I could take you to help you really release the roots. And I think that's what you're asking for. So please, thank you for sharing and being so open. I'm sure you've helped a lot of people who are not speaking up, and we'll watch the recording. And please, I'm here if you would like further help. I'm here for you.
Thank you.
Oh, you're muted, Jules.
Got it, I'm back. There was a loud truck going by. Joshua, or is it Jonathan? It's Joshua, right? Joshua, do you want to share real quick before we conclude?
Oh, hi. Yes, if you wouldn't mind, that'd be great. Thank you so much for all this. So Deborah knows me as Rob. So
Okay, I couldn't remember what she was calling you.
it's all good. Thank you so much, and thank you for this both of you. And I can think I'm asking, and please forgive me for not being on camera currently. I'm in the acupuncturist on the table right now. So I've been having a really rough time letting go of a very unhealthy relationship. She lives at my home, and we've been together 8 years. All the signs are there that I need to let this go. I'm just trying to get through my resistance and my fear of what it's going to look like if I finally tell her she needs to move out. And I know she doesn't have the resources to move out on her own currently, so I'm trying to raise money from friends and stuff to help, that element. But I also feel a very deep, complex situation here. I know we're both not good for each other at this point. Our wounds are just rubbing up against each other way too much. And I know there's other people out there that are listening to this right now. They're on this call currently that can relate. And it's complex letting go of somebody who's living in your home. Or if you're married, you have kids. There's so many different things can keep you bounded financially.
Well,
but I mean,
let me stop you, Rob, and I'll cut to the chase. And I love you. Don't shoot the messenger.
I won't. I won't.
So what I'm hearing is, you're giving your power away, and you're rationalizing what you need to do. When you're done, you're done. If you're not done, you're not done. So on some level, you're still involved in the pain of this. And when the pain gets great enough, you'll be done, but you're not done until you're done. I was in a horrible abusive relationship. And when I was done, it was not difficult to say, get the hell out. Now, I'm not saying you don't do it with kindness, because if you do it with anger, it's not really useful for anyone. But see, you're also, what you may not be aware of that I want you to be aware of is you've decided that she's not capable of handling it. If you say, we're done, this is not serving us. When you do what's best for yourself, you do what's best for the other person. But you've decided there is no God for her. God won't take care of her. She's going to starve on the streets. I doubt that. And in fact, I would say the issue's not her, the issue's your thinking about her. And that you have the idea that she's too weak to figure out how to find the money. Or people are amazing. And it's amazing what people come up with and how they resolve their issues once they know you're serious. But if they don't have a reason, a motivation, you're keeping her in a dependent situation by doing it. So how is that serving her? That's not love, that's codependency. And I don't really like that word or label, but that, it's a dependency, and so if you truly want to step into your power and you love her and you want her to step into her power, the loving thing to do is to say, let's just quit dancing this dance because we're stepping on each other and it hurts. So we either resolve it or we move on. And sometimes the other person isn't ready and wants to be in their cushy nest. But if it's really, you just have to get clear on really, is it time for you? What do you want for you in your life and your relationships? What do you want? And if you've tried to resolve this and it hasn't resolved, how much pain will it take? Or set a time limit for how much longer, you're going to do the dance. Does that make sense, Rob?
It does make sense. Thank you. I do recognize the codependency, and I recognize the dance. And I think the deeper truth is, I believe I'm working through some grief bonding to her too, because she was there through my parents passing.
I knew you were going to say this is related to that. I remember when you told me about this. See, it's the grief you don't want to feel.
Yeah.
And now you're going to have more grief when you lose this relationship. See, this is what we all do. I don't want to feel this, so I'm going to do this to avoid this. And then this causes more of the same feeling that this caused that I didn't want to feel. So it gets bigger. The same emotional thing that we were avoiding gets bigger, more fire. The fire gets bigger. You are going to find such freedom and such power and strength when you grieve the loss of your parents. And that's the link to a healthy relationship as well, with God, with yourself, and with a woman of your dreams. So you'll do it at some point. You will. You'll do it at some point. I mean,
I know this is true because tears are happening. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Welcome. I love you, Rob.
I love you too.
Thank you, Rob/Joshua. That was a great response. Amazing. I always have this thing where if you're going to make the wrong choice, at least do it consciously and then continue to evolve consciously within the choice that you're making.
I love that. Really. I mean, just say, okay, look, I'm owning it. I'm choosing to stay in a dysfunctional relationship. I've done it. And then when I was done and learned what I needed to learn, and I ended it. To sit around and wait for it to happen, that doesn't usually work very well.
Let me just pipe back in and ask you, I have some shame and guilt around. I get what you're saying about she'll find her way. So yes, I get that. And then probably the deeper truth is yeah, okay, I'm fearful of being alone and dealing with this grief again, of her leaving, because there has been good times, not like there hasn't been.
Of course.
But also just oh gosh, I guess I'm drawing a blank again. It's just it's so complex to.
No,
I know. I'm sorry. The fear of being alone, and then I have shame around like right now. I'm trying my best to build a support system because the type of relationship I've been in don't have many friends anymore.
See, this is why you must be alone. Your greatest healing is going to come when you are in a relationship with you and your higher power alone, and that you don't need a woman in your life. This is where the greatest, when you will come from a full cup, you can have that relationship with another full cup. But right now what you've done is you've tried to fill an empty hole where there's pain, and it's with another person. And it's like having an infected wound and you don't clean it out first and you just stick the Band-Aid over it and then it gets more infected. And so you're afraid of the very thing that's going to strengthen you the most and liberate the hell out of you. And I know from personal experience the truth of this. And for many, many, many people who come in to work with me in my groups, we talk a lot about relationships because so many people do this very thing and they stay for decades sometimes. And it just gets harder and harder and harder. And then the health issues show up disguised, you see. And so, Rob, I know you well enough to know you don't see yourself and who you really are. You don't see your power and your strength the way I know. I see it. I feel it. I know who you are. And so, yes, you need to build a support system with people that care about you. They'll show up in a heartbeat if you ever create the space. You've put all your energy into her.
That is true. Thank you, Deborah. I appreciate you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Deborah. All right, I'm going to bring us back to speaker view and just officially thank you for bringing your brilliance and your light and your amazing gift to all of us. But let's do a little shout out to how people can find you. Of course, it'll be in the show notes, but I always like to give you the opportunity to kind of sum it up and then also give your website or however you like to be contacted.
I would like to give everyone a free gift. If you come to my website, which is internationalcpi.com, you can download a no-cost digital version of my best-selling book, which is called Why Do I Still Hurt? Whatever type of hurt you've got, this will talk to you and take this conversation deeper. It's like a workbook that you can use. And it will invite you also to when I do other calls and, I do a master class, there's a video there that you can watch. And I would love for you to reach out if you would like further help. It's been such an amazing group here today. I felt the energy before the call even started, but so many of you, I can feel you. And God, Jules, what an awesome, amazing work you're doing in your consciousness to be able to create this and attract this and develop this. And I'm honored that you reached out to me and invited me here to be part of this force field. It's a force field for sure. Thank you to everybody who participated or who's watching the video later, the recording, and just excited. And if I have one thing to say to leave the note to leave on, I just want to say to those of you that are suffering in some way or area of your life where you haven't talked about it, you're not speaking up on Zoom yet, and you know who you are, you're suffering. Do not give up hope, even if they've told you it's incurable or you need to learn to live with this or everybody in your family had this. You do not need to live with it. There is hope, there is a solution, and your miracle might be right around the corner if you're willing to take one small step, not a leap into the void, one small step. So whatever you do, don't give up hope. Just take one more action step. If it means coming back to Jules' call again, read the book, whatever, just don't stop and accept that you're going to live in a jail cell because somebody else told you had to, or that was their reality. Don't stop there. I and Jules will hold the knowing of who you are until you wake up to that. And you will. And thank you again, Jules, for having me.
Thank you so much. That was a great way to end the call. And I just also want to thank everyone for holding such a beautiful container as we really start to tap into these deeper issues and find different ways of finding our light and allowing that light to shine. And I do want to do a little shout out for anybody to please go to our YouTube channel and like and subscribe. It helps us grow and build so that we can continue to bring in amazing healers like Deborah today. So much love to each and every one of you. And I hope that you feel inspired and uplifted and bring that energy and explore what is next from this space. So much love to you. I'll give you a second to grab that link, whoever was asking.
I put the link to the website in there, and I just want to thank you all so much. Much love to all of you.
Bye, everyone.